Hey guys, Coach Dylan here from Lambright again. I get asked from time to time about how to properly stretch and cool down after a workout, and since that's something we're not building into the Cardio Crushers videos every single day, just so they're not half an hour long for you, I figured I'd take the time, and today we're gonna do our cool down and stretch routine. So we got a slightly different camera angle for this today, just because we're going to be on the ground. And yeah, so I figured you see a little better this way. So for this, all you need is a nice spot of floor. If you have a resistance band, you can use that for some things. If you have a hard time, if you are flexibility challenged, a band or even like a belt that you would normally wear on your pants will work just fine for some of the things where we're trying to reach our foot or something like that, or if you got a mobility issue in your shoulder. But we're going to go through the standard stretch routine that I have folks do after Cardio Crushers. So we're going to start laying on our back, and we're going to lay down with our head on the floor, and we're just going to pull that knee in to our chest. And so we should be feeling this right along our glute, right through here. If you're really tight, you might feel it in your hamstring up here a little as well. If you're really bendy, you may need to pick this knee up a little bit to get a little more out of it. But the big thing is this other foot. Let's go back so you can see it. We want to make sure that toe is up, and we want to make sure that it's in line with our hip this way. We don't want it way out, rolled over. We want our hips square. And so we're going to be here, we're going to pull the knee in, and then we're going to squeeze against it for just a couple seconds, and then we're going to pull it in again. Then we're going to squeeze it out and squeeze it in. And by doing this, we're kind of resetting the receptors at the end of our tendons and make our body wig out because it thinks our muscles are getting ripped in half and getting the muscle to engage. And so we can get a better stretch, a deeper stretch, as we slowly get a little deeper in it each time, as that muscle gets a little better stretch each time. And so for all these stretches, we want somewhere between 8 and 12 reps of about 1, 2, 3 seconds in, and then squeeze it out for about a second and a half, and then coming in for the next one. Somewhere between 8 and 12 reps, hitting both sides equally. Do one side, then do the other. So, after we do our glutes, typically what I have folks do is I come up and get in a figure 4 position here. And again, we want the hips square and our shoulders square to where we're going. We're going to sit up tall and we're going to lean forward from the waist. I really don't care if you can get your head to your knee. Because notice we're not bending anymore at the hip. We're just folding over. But we'll get a better stretch in our hamstring and the top of our calf. We pull those toes back a little bit and just kind of lean forward into it. And so when we're doing this, in order to keep those hips and shoulders square, if you take your opposite hand, in my case my left hand, and I reach it over my foot, that's going to help keep the hips and shoulders square as I lean forward, keeping that torso nice and long. This is one of those exercises where if you have tight hamstrings, and a lot of folks do, this is where that belt or the resistance band can come in handy. So a quick demo, you can place the resistance band over your foot, and then you pull it in, squeeze it down, and then we're going to engage that hamstring and pull ourselves back up. And we're going to go a little deeper this time, nice and smooth, and then squeeze it up. If you have the rope or the resistance band, you can also do this laying on your back, which if you have a back issue may be preferable. So we still want to keep that leg straight. If you're worried about it slipping off your foot, you can wrap it around your foot and your ankle like so. And you just pull it up, and then pull against it, and then squeeze it in, stretch, and then pull against it. Fundamentally though, you notice we're doing the same stretch, right? We're challenging the range of motion in our hamstring and our hip. Just like when we're doing our glutes though, we want to make sure the bottom foot, the one that's on the ground, those toes stay up We don't want that foot to roll outwards. We want it up. And that keeps the hips square. Again, 8 to 12 reps. Squeeze, pull against it. Next up, we're going to do the, we're going to get our piriformis a little bit. And the way I like to do this is I like to put my foot on my knee and kind of just lean into it. So you can be right here. Granted, I'm pretty bendy, and where that sweet spot is, where you feel it, kind of right through here, is a little different for each person. Some people feel it back here. Some people feel it up here, squeezing it in. Some people, you got to get real up close tight on it. You can also get it, if you want a little more out of it, a little more back action, be in the same position, and you can roll it over to the side and sit up tall for the old bathing beauty. So you're right here. And then you get the hip, you get a little bit of back. If you find that you're having a range of motion issue here, like you just don't quite have the range of motion in your hip to get here, that's fine. You can get here, start in that figure 4 position and just pull that knee up and in. Or you can sit in a chair while you do it. Pretend I'm sitting in a chair. You can just put your foot on your knee and just kind of push that knee down just a little bit. You don't have to push hard, but you'll get just a little bit of stretch. After getting our glutes and our hamstrings and our piriformis, next up we want to get the rest of our posterior chain. We want to get both parts of our calf. We want to get the gastrocnemius and soleus, right? Both the big ones in our calf. I personally actually like to start at the bottom on this one. I like to almost sit on my other foot. I'm going to put my hand under my foot, so I pull the toe up, and I'm going to lean into it and then squeeze back. And just like with everything else, we're going to squeeze in for about 3 to 4 seconds, and then we're going to engage it and push ourselves back. But by pulling that toe up, we're going to be able to get all the muscles in the bottom of our foot, because that's where a lot of that stuff ties in from our calf. And so if you got a history of plantar fasciitis, which is something that get flared up doing this kind of work that we do in cardio crushers, this is a good way to work on that mobility in the arch of the foot and make sure it's staying flexible and making sure it's staying recovered. For getting the top of our calf, we're going to stretch our calf with a straight leg. So you can get right here, you can do both feet at the same time. You can do one leg at a time. It doesn't really matter. But we want to keep that leg straight as we push that heel down to the ground. And that's going to stretch you right up in here in that gastroc. You can just squeeze in and out of it. And you can go side to side a little bit if it's easier to do one side at a time. That way you feel like you got the balance. Personally, I'm not quite coordinated enough to really do a good job with it one side at a time. So I like to go all the way down and then squeeze it all the way up and then stretch it down again. And the last one for the legs is we're going to get our quads. And there's a couple different ways to do this. You can do it in a 3-point lunge stance, which if you're going to do this at home, I'd recommend getting a blanket or a towel for under your knee. But we're going to be right here. If you're really bendy, you can get really deep in it, open up the hips. But we want to keep this knee over this ankle. I like to get up on my knuckles, give me a couple extra inches here. And then this back foot, we're just going to pull it up. We're going to pull it up, and as we push the hip down, we're just going to pull that foot in towards our rear end. And that's going to let us get really deep in that quad and the hip flexors, our quad and our hip flexor here. Now, if you're not quite that bendy, you can do this on a chair. You can put your knee on the seat of the chair and your foot on the back. Or your couch works good for this. You can also do this standing. You can just hang on to something, pick your foot up, push that hip forward. The key is to make sure we're pushing that hip forward and we're pulling that foot that way, up and away. And by doing that, we're going to stretch our hip flexor and our quad over the knee. We're not just stretching, if we're here, we may be stretching our quad, but it's a lot of force on our knee. So we want to open that up and get it good. So for the upper body, I like to start with the triceps. We're just going to put our hand on our shoulder. We're going to lift it straight up. Again, like a 3 count, and then we're going to squeeze into it, kind of pull it forward, and then squeeze it back. So from the side, you kind of see here, we're squeezing it forward, and then we're pulling it back again. Nice and smooth, pull it forward, pull it back. Again, 8 to 12 reps on each side. After that, we typically have to get like our deltoids and our pecs. I'm a big fan of putting my hand on the wall and twisting away. I have a nice door frame here in my closet. That works great. If you don't have that option available to you, you can just put your hand flat on the wall, face the wall, and then rotate away from it. Don't go too hard though, so you don't hurt your shoulder. Now, I will say, pretend I have a pole right here or a wall. Pretend I'm pushing on this wall. I want to rotate the hip and the shoulder away. You notice it's almost like I'm opening my chest up, right? I'm doing this number, pushing up and away. I'm not up here trying to stretch it. Keeping that chest, keeping that shoulder down, opening that chest up. And the last one we do is we give ourselves a big hug because we worked hard. So we're going to stretch our upper back by wrapping those arms all the way around us. Then we're going to take a nice deep breath and we're going to roll forward a little bit as we kind of get here. Tuck that chin. We're going to stretch that upper back. Again, you still squeeze out of it and squeeze into it. Nice and smooth. Now there's a difference between bouncing and squeezing. A lot of people learned how to stretch by bouncing with that ballistic stretch motion. I saw someone doing it at the track yesterday with a V-sit. 1, 2, 3, clap. 1, 2. That is a recipe to get hurt. Don't do it. Be gentle with your stretching. You can work that full range of motion, but keep it gentle. Till next time, train smart.